All right, good morning and welcome to the VCB's June 12th webinar. Wanted to catch you guys up on some of our recent activity. I'm going to share with you our STAR data, but before I do that, I want to introduce you to our speakers this morning. First up will be Joseph St. Germain from our research firm, Down St. Germain. Joseph is coming to us from Tallahassee, but they have done some consumer sentiment research. We talked about this on our webinar last month, but we have now done 3 waves, and Joseph will be presenting data from the 3rd wave. Okay, sorry about that. Did you hear anything I said? Okay, good. So I was muted, so I couldn't complete it. What I was saying was that Down St. Germain has done 3 waves of consumer sentiment research. Today, they will be presenting the results of wave 3. We also have Jill Vance, who will be giving us our sales report, Francesca Donlin, who will be giving us our communications update, our PR efforts, and then Brian Ossowski will bring it home with an update on our recovery marketing efforts, sharing with you some creative today that we are really excited to roll out. So with that, I'm going to very quickly show you the most recent weekly STAR numbers. So Joseph, I think you're going to turn the slide for me. Thank you. You'll see we've been tracking the weekly data since the beginning of March. Kind of the low point in terms of occupancy was back in mid-April. And of course, that was the low point for RevPAR. Low point on ADR was a little bit later, first week in May, but you can see where we are this week, came in, or I should say last week, technically, the week ending June 6th, 33.6% occupancy, 110.75 on the ADR and 37.18 on the RevPAR. Pretty much, things have been ticking up each of the last few weeks. You do see a little bit of dip in occupancy this week compared to the previous week, but I will remind you that the previous week also, had Memorial Day, at the beginning of the Memorial Day weekend in it. And I know there was some pent up demand that week, as that was the first week some of our properties were, weekend that some of our properties were opened. Hopefully we'll continue to see those numbers improve as time goes on, but I did want to share with you so you can sort of see how it tracks over time as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Joseph to give us an update on consumer sentiment.
All right, thank you very much. I will begin to move the slides here, I hope, here in a second. As I wait for the slides to move, I'll start working through my presentation and also shut off my video. All right, so as Tamara mentioned, this is our 3rd wave. We conducted the first wave in mid-April, the 2nd wave in early May, and the 3rd wave, frankly, earlier this week, with consumers largely in Florida drive markets, but also in Atlanta, which is kind of half drive, half fly, and then also New York City and Chicago to get a sense of what people are thinking outside of the state. As I go through this, it's gonna be a John Wooden, be quick but don't hurry type of a thing. So I'll kind of run through this, but there will be a chance to have questions. Overall, consumers feel safer. They are doing more things. They are feeling like things are more safe. But as along those lines, in previous ways, we looked at large attractions reopening and restaurants and retail reopening as signs where people thought travel would be safe, but now as they open, they're less as an indicator. And then finally, they really do expect some new cleanliness standards when they first get to when they first start to visit. The slide here just shows, as you can see, waves 1, 2, and 3, people are feeling more and more comfortable doing things that are related to travel, particularly important for beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, going to the beach, visiting outdoors attractions, staying hotels. If you look at the bottom right, I think that just tells a large story, as in mid-April, most people, the majority of people didn't feel safe completing travel-related activities, and now a majority do. So that's a general positive. Who do they trust in travel advice? It's really the CDC. It continues to be the #1 place to get information on travel advice, or trusting, I should say. If you look at the bottom right in the middle, you will notice that's, we still have a small percentage who feel like it's safe to travel now, but that at least has more than doubled since mid-April. As I mentioned on travel safety indicators, as things have opened up in the state of Florida and Georgia, using those as signposts that it's safe aren't as loud of a signal. I will say though, when we looked at the data in New York and Chicago, where things are more restrictive, the attractions opening and restaurants and retail stores reopening, those still tend to be the #1 indicators. We asked when they feel safe to travel again. Like May, it's still about 2.5 months away. But at the same time, you'll notice throughout, still a lot of people are still looking to take that summer vacation. But as you look at the bottom right, as to people who don't feel it's going to be safe to travel this year, we are going to have a group of people who, at least at this point, don't anticipate traveling again in 2020. The next time they visit paid accommodations, almost all of them are expecting new cleanliness standards, but the top 2 are hand sanitizer stations. People are expecting to see that everywhere, and they hope to see staff cleaning common surfaces. I mean, that's twofold. One, seeing it clean makes it cleaner, which is important, but there's also that psychological aspect of it. As a visitor, it's cleaner because you're seeing it actually happen. For the future, they want to go to places they can drive to, they want to go to beaches, and they want to go to uncrowded areas. Again, great news for the product that you have, but we still see pent-up demand. And then, as we looked at the comp set, Southwest Florida beach destinations still is the number one place that they want to go to. So as we look at travel preferences, this is like, once it's safe to travel again, which would you prefer? Places they can drive to has been #1 each wave, but we've seen an even higher number of people who want to drive to their destination. We've kept hearing there's going to be pent-up demand, and data in each wave has showed, once COVID's over, or it's deemed straight travel again, they are willing to kind of take that step. I mean, one of the things with some of our questions that we ask is, like, are you willing to travel once COVID has passed? I mean, that really is an individual thing. Once people feel comfortable, it's very different from person to person, but that's why you ask a lot of people to get a sense of what the majority of people think. In terms of planning vacations and getaways, again, as we look at our Florida residents and a couple other markets, it looks like, around half are going to still have something planned for this summer. But as you can see, as you look at the bottom, the percentages who don't plan on traveling for the rest of 2020, we do have a significant percentage who just aren't ready at this point. Given that some of Florida has begun to open and we're in phase 2, we've introduced some questions as to what have you actually done? So about half of the people have visited retail, 30% have dined in at a restaurant. That was lower than I basically expected. The one thing to take into account here, we have about 30% of our surveys are coming from New York and Chicago, where there's much more restrictive right now. And about 1 in 4 have gone to the beach, but about 1 in 3 Florida residents have gone to the beach. So we're starting to see behavior change beyond the consumer sentiment. So for their next trip, you know, we looked at the competitive set. The Southwest Florida beaches still coming in #1. There hasn't been much change in this wave over wave. When we break down which areas of Southwest Florida, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Sanibel, Captiva have been the areas that have been a little bit higher than Naples and Marco Island. When it comes to marketing, safety continues to be a high priority. You know, the one thing about safety though, that's necessary in order for them to visit. They need to feel safe, but it's not necessarily sufficient to inspire them to come. And I know the rest of the team is going to be talking about some of those things later on. The importance of the destination website is vital. And you know, the one negative is there was a small decrease in interaction with travel media. So this question we asked open-ended, you know, what advertising or messages would motivate you to visit once it's safe? And if you look at the top 3, prioritizing safety, new cleaning, that it's safe to visit again. They need to feel safe in the marketing. You know, we asked them, you know, how do you feel about advertising right now? And I'm going to focus on the bottom part here. You know, in mid-April, almost a plurality wanted, you know, they didn't want to see anything. The good news is that more than 4 and 5 in May and June are ready to hear from destinations at this point. Again, we asked, have you interacted with any of this travel media, tourism media in the last 2 weeks? Again, none. Bumped up a little bit from May, but as the one thing we've noticed is video still tends to be the driving force in what people are actually interacting with. When it's safe to see when it's appropriate to resume advertising, that keeps being like a couple months, and so it keeps getting pushed back a little bit as we go. But again, I think on the previous slide, I do want to focus that the vast majority are ready and willing to see it at this point. In terms of planning their next trip, I really want to spend a little time on mentioning the destination website, because this is something when we do visitor tracking with visitors, the destination website is always an important resource, but it always lags behind searching on Google or talking to friends and family. But with this first post-COVID trip, we're starting to see the destination website as a really a one-stop shop where they can still look into accommodations and restaurants and attractions, but they also will probably want to get some information on travel advisories and things of that nature. While they're in market, you know, when they're here and they need information, it looks like they're largely going to stay away from human interactions, even though you still have almost 1 in 3 who want to go to a visitor center, but it'll be more relying on Google and apps and their phones and things of that nature. And then finally, as we move on, we ask an open-ended question, and people are still scared and cautious, but words like excited, optimistic, and ready have increased in terms of their frequency. Consumers currently are feeling more comfortable in hotels than they do in vacation rental properties. I speculate a little bit that may change as more and more vacation rental properties are open and legally open, and how that's changed in the last couple of weeks. There is some negative impact of financially on COVID, and we'll see consumers taking fewer vacations. But when we asked, have you actually traveled, there was a slight increase, and I'm going to touch on this twice probably, but the good news is the number of leisure trips increased significantly, and as Tamara mentioned a little bit ago, you know, we saw some of that around Memorial Day, things of that nature. So here's our word cloud of words associated with travel. It's still not great news, but again, if you look at it as a trend, which is the importance of doing these waves, again, words that we're hoping to see, excited, optimistic, ready, are getting larger and larger. As of right now, they're looking at hotels and motels, but vacation rentals and staying with friends and family are still strong considerations for their next trip. You know, about half of our consumers have been negatively impacted by COVID, and that's looking like it's going to result in fewer trips in the near future. And then finally with, again, we're asking actual behavior questions. Up top, you'll see, we didn't see much movement in terms of the percentage who have traveled in the past 3 weeks. That only moved up 2%. But if you look at the bottom graph, you notice a huge jump in that percentage that were leisure related. So we're starting to see more leisure related trips as we move forward. And then finally, I'll look at the consumer profile. I won't spend a lot of time here just because we largely use these to make sure we're getting the right people, vacation decision makers, income 75K plus. It tends to skew female because they tend to make more travel decisions, and almost a 50-50 split of whether or not there's children in the household. I know that's a quick run through, but that's the end of my portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Joseph. I want to remind the participants that we're not taking questions verbally, but you can use the question box to ask any questions you might have. So feel free to go ahead and enter questions, and we're going to go ahead and run through all the presentations, but then we'll answer the questions at the end. We want to make sure that we get this done for you and get you back to work by 10 a.m. So now we'll shift gears, and Jill Vance will give us a presentation on sales activities.
Great. Can everyone hear me? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you, Jill.
I can hear you.
Great, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I just want to give you some highlights of our recent sales activities. And here is a quick recap of our sales goal pace. And please know that at the end of February, we were ahead of pace on all sales goals. And then, of course, COVID-19 entered our lives. So needless to say, we are behind pace for leads sent and leads booked by our industry partners. And as far as in-person fans and client events go, due to a multitude of reasons, they have been discontinued for the time being. But there is some good news. Wedding leads are ahead of pace by 28 leads. And just for the month of May, Jennifer sourced 35 wedding leads to our industry partners. Once the governor's safer at home orders went into effect, the sales team immediately implemented our recovery plan's wait phase. So just to highlight a few activities, as I mentioned, immediately we assisted our partners and clients with groups cancellations and postponements with a strong effort to keep these meetings in Lee County. Of the definite events from the VCB leads March through July that canceled, we helped our industry partners reschedule 81 of these so far. Also, we created a special edition of our meeting planner newsletter showcasing heartfelt community stories, and we sent it to over 10,000 meeting planners, which was a big hit and inspired many client interactions with our sales team. And we continued with our marketing media plan to our meetings market with an added thoughtful message, which kept the destination top of mind. I do want to mention one thing from our travel trade market that is not on this slide. We did participate in a QuestX 5-day e-learning campaign. Almost 4,000 travel agents took the course. A little over 450 were agency-based, so that leaves the remainder, 3,500, were home-based travel agents who are very difficult to reach. Okay, now that we've entered the governor's multi-phase reopening plan, the sales team has moved on to our recovery plan's ready phase. So some initiatives are, we're participating in the We're Here to Help campaign, which was launched last week by Destinations International. And this is a meetings industry recovery awareness campaign to target meeting planners on the critical role that CVBs serve for meetings and events. And it is being promoted by most meeting planner associations and organizations like MPI and PCMA. And to update you on where we have landed on our virtual FAM initiative, we plan to design them in conjunction with our marketing team's Threshold 360 project. Our marketing agency, MMGY, has an agreement with Threshold 360, who provide 360-degree interactive virtual tours of the destination. And the timing of the Threshold 360 project will be determined by our marketing team in the next 2 weeks, and we'll have more information at that time. So by the sales team using this tool, we will be able to personalize virtual FAMs for each respective audience and market. So we're really looking forward to that. We're also planning to send a client care package of Beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel branding personal protection equipment, PPE, to our top producing meeting planners. And we will continue our media buys to the meetings market in Meetings Today, FSAE, Florida Trend, and Successful Meetings. And before I finish, I do want to mention that our international efforts continue, and we will go more into depth in the future, but we're still in the wait phase of recovery for the international market. And it is forecasted that our first opportunities will be in Canada, assuming the border reopens soon. We're thinking June 21st, fingers crossed. And Europe, of course, will take much longer. However, Stephanie and her team continue to remain engaged with international tour operators and media. And now I'll turn it over to Francesca Donlin, who will give you an update on our PR activities.
Great, thanks, Jill. Let me get control of the slideshow. Here we go. I think. Let's go. Hello, good morning, everyone, while we get organized. Thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate it. I'm just going to give a very quick overview of our communications outreach, which we've been very pleased about. One of the most important things that we do is to generate PR activity, media coverage, but the other most important thing we do is make sure that you are informed and we get messages out to you. So I'm going to show you how you can help us help you. But in the meantime, here's some recent coverage: Condé Nast Traveler, Travel and Leisure, National Geographic, Boston Globe. We've had just tremendous coverage, which shows you that while people are reticent about traveling, they have been during the pandemic, that they are not reticent about reading about travel and about imagining traveling. And I think that they are ready to go, some of them, and they're certainly starting to come back. And articles like this will help them. We also, just to keep you, to make sure that you remember that we always have ongoing coverage in the news press, in Florida Weekly, and then we also have coverage in a variety of tourism marketing publications like the one that you see on the slide. So we are constantly trying to inform our visitors, our residents, about what is special, unique about this area. Also, this is where you come in as our partners. We want to make sure that you have platforms in which your messages can be shared, that we can share with you. Our industry partner Facebook page has had a huge increase. Even since March, the page has seen a 26% increase in users. So I just want you to be aware of it. It's at Lee VCB, that's the handle. For example, this is just to show you that we put Tam's column on the Facebook page in May, and we got a 264% reach increase for that week, and it mentioned more than 24 industry partners. So we use a variety of platforms to get your message out, and this is another way. We have monthly. We've always had a monthly newsletter, but since the pandemic, we have instituted a weekly newsletter, and this is where we share the most update news, best practices, but also we have an opportunity to share news from you. So if you can get us news that you are doing, what the media is very interested in is your sanitation, the cleaning practices. If it's unusual, if it's interesting. For example, some people built some glass houses and had lunch in them. I don't expect you to do that. But if there's anything interesting that you're doing, please let us know all the time. We just put out a survey. Please respond to the survey, because when we know what you're doing, what improvements you're making, we can share that with national and local media. And then this is what we're doing right now to communicate with journalists. And this was very successful. We had a Gift from the Sea virtual book club, and we had some very top journalists. Gift from the Sea it's celebrating its 65th anniversary this year. But because as a direct result of this meeting, we just got a couple of days ago an article in US News and World Report listing the top 12 top Gulf Coast beaches, and we got 3 of the beaches. And it's because, again, we were at this meeting, we were top of mind. These journalists are always doing these sort of roundups, and if you can stay top of mind, they'll remember you, and boom, there you go, you're in a roundup. So that's really, really helpful to us. We also did cake and coffee with the UK, and the UK and our international contractors and media is important to stay on top of mind with all of the media. So we're doing a good job with that. And then I wish I had a drum roll, because we are about to debut the SHELLCAST podcast. Jackie Parker has been working really hard along with Ray Saraceno to build this incredible SHELLCAST podcast. As you know, podcasts are huge right now. Big interest for people stuck at home wanting to be somewhere else. And Jackie has done an amazing job. We've got 3 in the can. That's podcast speak. And it premieres June 23rd. You're going to hear about Brian Holloway on the water. You're going to go to a burrowing owl festival, and you're going to take a walk on the beach to learn about shells and our beautiful wildlife. So that's fun. That is another way that we can reach out to you, that you can get involved. We're excited to showcase our slice of paradise. It will go all around the world, and people can listen in their own homes and inspire to go to the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. And then lastly, we've got some upcoming initiatives. As you know, as you've heard, people are comfortable in their cars, traveling in their cars now. So RV travel, road tripping is very popular. We also, the media is very interested, like I said, in social distancing information and unique safety and hygiene protocols. And then of course, we like to showcase our wildlife. And then lastly, we've got some potential press trips coming up. It's all going to be around road tripping. We're going to work with our area partners like St. Pete and Key West. And if they're going to be in their car, we want to get them here, and we want to get them to have the best experience that they can for the journalists. They're going to, if they're going to get in the car anyway, we want them coming here. So that's a safe way for them to travel and experience our destination. Also, Island Hopper Songwriter Fest, we're going to have journalists down for that. And we're excited to start being with our journalists again. And that's it for me. Thank you. And what's most important for us is if you could just continue to share your information with us, whatever's new, whatever's happening, whatever kindnesses we even have a little paragraph for acts of kindness. Whatever you've got going, we want to hear about it, because if you help us, we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Now we'll turn things over to Brian, and I'll remind you again, you're welcome to ask questions. We'll get to them at the end.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here with you again this morning, talking about our phased marketing strategies as it applies to recovery. So, what I'll cover with you today, I will review our primary marketing objective, bring everyone back up to speed and revisit the 4 phases of recovery, take a quick look at our crisis communication roadmap, briefly talk about our target markets. We will spend most of the time this morning on insights, creative, and messaging. And then as Tam said, we will try to answer as many questions as we can. So our objective through all of this, to execute impactful in-recovery marketing strategies to encourage inspiration and to keep the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel top of mind for forward-looking travel planning as COVID-19 begins to subside. So you heard a lot of good information from Joseph earlier. This information, of course, we monitor a lot of different data points. Some tidbits here from our friends at Destination Analysts: 70% will take at least one leisure trip in the remainder of 2020. 40% say their next road trip will take place this summer. And the majority of American travelers continue to opt for beach and outdoor experiences for their next leisure trips. So taking a look, moving forward, and revisiting our phased approach. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on wait. I think we've all been waiting long enough. This is when we were all quarantined and we're learning about social distancing. As a brand, our role was to be empathetic, to give travelers something to look forward to. And of course, we executed our Stay Well, Stay Home campaign. Right now, we are in phase 2, which is ready. Folks are assessing the impact. As a brand, we're re-entering the marketing conversation in a big way, providing inspiration and relevant information to travelers. You heard Joseph say that right now, destination websites are the #1 source for travel information, and we're proud to be able to pass that along to folks. And then moving away from Stay Well, Stay Home, we're going to begin incorporating some calls to action in our messaging. So the set phase, we don't know when this will be, but this is when everyone is 100% comfortable going back out in public. We'll step up our game even more, encouraging people to explore, giving them reasons to believe in the future, and really become more action-focused in our messaging. And finally, go. This is when things get back to, quote unquote normal. People are moving around or free to travel. Businesses are open. We can get back to, special offers and creative packages that we put together for visitors. And we're really going to promote a sense of belonging and community. So the crisis communication roadmap, you see where we are in the ready phase as our recovery begins. Our role as a brand, again, to understand safety and health precautions, as also you heard Joseph mention earlier, and provide some getaway solutions to help people break the cabin fever. We're going to drive awareness, consideration, and visitation. Our messaging will be inspirational and informational, as you'll see here shortly. And our targeting strategy, right off of the bat, we're looking for repeat visitors. We're looking for resilient travelers and those that are looking to take road trips, a driving vacation, which has had us adjust our markets. So a couple of insights for what the future holds. The traveler insight that we based our campaigns on. Social distancing and stay-at-home orders forced us to adjust our daily norms. Interactions have been limited and digitized, and as we all know, travel had nearly halted. Now people are looking forward to getting their lives back to normal. They're talking about their future travel plans, and they want to find an escape and go somewhere where they feel comfortable and fulfilled. For us, what does that mean? What's our ownable insight? The beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel is an open island getaway that naturally fills people with hope and optimism. And hope and optimism are two key words there that I will refer to throughout this presentation. So where are people coming from? If you were on our webinar last month, I talked a lot about our targeting strategies, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on this. We have identified 3 tiers of drive markets, 250, 500, and 750 mile radius. This, of course, represents our tried and true in-state destinations, as well as some new in-state, and then some locations in Georgia, which you'll see here. So drive markets in-state, Tampa, the Palm Beaches, Miami, and Orlando, they're part of our marketing mix for summer anyway. But now we've added Gainesville, the Jacksonville area, up into the Panhandle, Tallahassee, and Panama City, and then some new markets in Georgia for us, Albany, Savannah, and Macon. And of course, we'll go back into Atlanta in a big way and encourage those folks to drive down for a visit. I do think it's worth mentioning that right now our mix is about 85-15 between drive markets and fly markets. So we're not abandoning our top 10, top 25, fly markets from the US. It's just when it comes to budget allocation and resources, all of the data is leading us to the drive vacation. So what we have always been is what visitors need right now. And when the team was thinking through, what does the sentiment of our messaging need to be? Leslie Ann Thompson, one of our marketing managers, said something, and it really stuck with us as we assembled this creative that I'm about to share with you. She said, the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel have an indomitable spirit that is intrinsically upbeat and optimistic. That was a powerful quote, and one that we shared with our agency, and they brainstormed around it. And ultimately, we landed at, to know the feeling is to know the spirit of the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. So right now, you hear a lot of people talking about, you know, I feel you, or here are my feelings about that. There's a lot of feelings going around, but we want to share the feelings that people have when they visit. So every interaction will define and share a feeling found here at a time when people really need it. So we call this campaign Know the Feeling. What are those feelings? Well, we identified 5 that we're working with. First is relaxed, grateful, meaning you've come to the right place at the right time. Optimistic, there's that word again. Feeling hopeful that your time here will be well spent. Enthusiastic and excitement. We want people to feel excited about what they're doing and what they're looking forward to doing next. And a connected feeling that this destination provides. We want people to feel a sense of belonging and togetherness with everything around them when they visit. So some print executions that express these feelings. Kick back to let loose. Know the feeling. Out to sea for myself. And offshore and in the moment. Know the feeling. Some digital display. This from a brand perspective, particularly that from a mother, taking a minute to stop time. You know, as a parent, you can see your boys enjoying one another's company on a vacation while they're young. You just want to hit the pause button if you can, and that was the feeling that we were capturing here. Some display co-op. Of course, nature is one of our primary pillars that we incorporate into our marketing messaging. Into nature on the right path. Know the feeling. Here's a treatment representing our downtown area and out there on Matlacha. Doing nothing means everything. Know the feeling. Yet another example of a partner co-op. So for TV, you know, we made the decision, if you tuned into our webinar last month, to migrate away from broadcast television just because the fastest way to churn through any budget is to buy broadcast TV. Also, we have better targeting capabilities with connected TV. So we will run some TV, but not on mainstream media like we've done in the past. Here's an example of a 15-second script. That feeling when you're in the moment you dreamed of for months. And the minute you think it can't get any better, it does. Know the feeling on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. The 30-second version. That feeling when you're in the moment you've waited for, thought about, talked about, dreamed about. And the minute you think it can't get any better, the minutes just keep coming. Know the feeling on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. So we'll be taking a look at a lot of the visuals. We like to put mood boards together, and this is an example of some of the visuals we'll be going at to hammer that messaging home for our connected TV buy. We also have some out-of-home placements. The next couple of slides, these are 15-second video monitors that are placed in and around destinations in various high traffic areas. This is a for placement only. We actually haven't shot this yet, but we wanted to use that first person sort of POV perspective. And if you can imagine being in a place and seeing this jet ski cruising across the water, it really puts you in a place and help you make a connection with a tagline, see where you can take the day. We have a version out here on the water, and then a version of someone kayaking on the river. Pandora is one of our good partners, very good partners actually, that we've worked with over the last couple of years. And we will have a recovery campaign running with Pandora with a VO that goes something like this. At the end of the open road, some things are better experienced than explained. Know the feeling on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. The nice thing about Pandora, they were recently purchased by SiriusXM, and now consumers will have the opportunity to listen to Pandora in their vehicles. We're one of the first destination brands to take advantage of this technology, and it actually allows us to change our messaging based on where people are listening to their Pandora. So in this case, we're going to hit them in their vehicle and make the reference to the open road. Another part of that technology is actually, with GPS, they'll actually know where the folks are. So in the future, we can incorporate, mileage messaging into this buy. Something along the lines of, know the feeling on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. Right now, you're only an hour and a half away, something like that. So very, very cool, something we're looking forward to. Social media is a huge part of our marketing and creative strategy. We have a fantastic team at the VCB, Courtney and Josh, and of course at MMGY. We also have a very robust influencer program. So with all the talk about driving vacations, we thought it would be a cool idea to partner with some influencers to have them drive to our destination from some of those key target markets we discussed. Right now we're looking at Miami, Orlando, and Jacksonville, but we'd like to contract them to, have them take a road trip here, follow them along their journey, and then have them share the experiences of being on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel after having experienced sort of that great American road trip. They'll share this across their channels, we'll share it across ours, and it's a good way to encourage people to get in the car. So as we move through all of our marketing, we have several integrated packages that you've heard me talk about in the past. And again, the social media, the robust social media campaign, we've come up with this travel disclaimer copy. And I'll read that to you real quick. We all have different feelings about traveling right now. When you're ready, we hope you feel safe, inspired, and excited to join us on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. On social, we all have different feelings about traveling right now, but we hope this photo or video brings you comfort and inspiration. Join us when you feel ready. Obviously, we're touching on the idea of safety, inspiration, and excitement, some of those feelings that I shared with you earlier. And we're also letting people know that we're here when their comfort level dictates they're ready to take a trip. So that's all I've got for you today. As Tam mentioned, I'm happy to answer any questions, as is the rest of the team. Do want to give you a little reminder that we do have some opportunities for recovery available in our co-op advertising portal right now at coop.leevcb.com. And the team has also been working on a new partner toolkit that we'll be rolling out in about a week or so. It's got some good best practice ideas built around social and customer service and marketing. And so we're really excited about rolling that out to you as well. So that's all I have for you this morning. But again, if anybody has any questions, I think we're ready to try to answer as many as we can.
Okay, so remember that you submit the questions in the question box, and I have a couple already that we will try to answer. First question is, how do the industry partners view the meeting planner newsletters, and what is the frequency of these newsletters? So I will let Jill Vance answer that question. Jill?
Thank you, Tam. The frequency of the newsletters for meeting planners is typically quarterly. And if you are interested in seeing a copy of them, I am happy to forward that to you. So just shoot me an email at jvance@legov.com.
Right. Second question is about the consumer sentiment, and it's the 30% who said they were comfortable eating inside of a restaurant. The question is, what was that just Southwest Florida or all of Florida? And I'm going to try to answer it, but Joseph, please correct me. We are doing those surveys in key in-state markets and a couple of out-of-state markets. I believe the out-of-state markets are New York and Chicago. So it is not Southwest Florida specific, but it is a little heavier on the Florida residents than it is the out-of-state residents. Joseph, do you mind?
Yeah, Tamara,
confirming?
Tamara's right. I mean, it's Florida heavy with some Atlanta. So yeah, it is largely Florida heavy. I mean, pull up you're looking at the markets were Atlanta, Tampa, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, New York City, Orlando, and Chicago. So you're right. There's some of those especially New York City. It's a little bit different. One of the largest things we've been kind of following is consumer sentiment isn't perfectly correlated with how open the state is, but it is somewhat correlated. And I guess along those lines, while 30% felt safe going to a bar restaurant, and that was with a larger list, we also saw 30% actually dined in at a restaurant. So, those who feel safe are doing it.
All right. Does anyone else have a question that you want to submit to the question box? I think we've answered all of them. I have a thank you note. Oh, wait, here comes some more. Great. Yes, we will share the deck. We will post that. We'll send it out as we have done on our Friday phone calls. We will send this out as a follow-up to everyone who participated, but also to the entire industry. I think it's always better if you can listen in because you get the nuances. Looking at the slides later aren't as good as listening in on the webinar. We have recorded it, so we'll post the recording as well, but the slides will be made available, so please know that. Any other questions? We appreciate your time. We are keeping at it. I know this is challenging times for each of you. One thing I do want to remind everyone of, Lee County has put together a program to help individuals who have been negatively impacted by COVID-19. This may be a great program for your employees. Household income at the time of application, of course, with so many people laid off or furloughed or out of work, I think many people in our community will qualify for this, has to be under $55,000. It will cover rent or a mortgage payment and utilities, electric and water, up to $2,000. They can submit their applications again starting on Monday at Lee, LEEFLCARES, so it's LeeFLCares.com. If they have any questions, they can call 533-LEE-CARES and get help answering the program. If someone doesn't have a computer at home, they can go to the Goodwill Business Centers throughout the community. There will be people there that can help them answer questions and enter their form at their business centers where they have computers people can use. It's a really good program. Some of your VCB staff are working on reviewing these applications. There also is a business program, $5,000 to help restart small businesses under 25 employees. It's a $5,000 grant for those businesses. That also is available at the LeeFLCares.com website. We did close down the individual applications last week to allow us to catch up. There are about 16, almost 17,000 applications submitted on the individual side. Well, I should say entered, not all submitted. They're not all complete. About half of them are complete. And we have been working our way through those applications. Should today have completed review of all submitted applications. So when we reopen the applications on Monday, we start with a empty inbox, but it'll start again next week. It's a really important thing that Lee County is doing to try to help the community. So I point that out to you. Some of your employees may be asking you to fill out an employer verification form that their hours were cut or that they were laid off. Encourage you to support them by providing that, because it will help them get that assistance. So that's all I have. I really appreciate your time this morning. We are here for you. If you need anything or have any thoughts you want to share with us, please feel free to send them. LeeVCB@leegov.com is our email address for any question you want to send in or any conversation you want to have. And of course, you can always call us at 338-3500. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Brian, Francesca, Jill, and Joseph for your time on the webinar this morning as well. Have a good day, everybody.